practical tips to help you make more money selling travel. This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast. And here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Hello. How are you today? It's one of those days where I just recorded for you the best episode, only then to realize that I had actually not yet started recording. Yes, we all have days like that. So in this episode, I want to talk to you about the power of language, the power of a name, and all of that goes with it. So when I was looking back through the episodes that I've recorded, and I've talked about this in past weeks, prior to June, I was not that consistent. So obviously, not a lot of you found me until we started getting into June, July, August. And suddenly people that are amazing like you have started listening to my podcast on a regular basis. I'm so grateful for you. But I was looking, and 2 weeks from today, the day this is being released, we're actually going to hit the 2-year anniversary since I dropped the very first episode. So why am I bringing that up? Well, that's because some of these episodes were in fact recorded 2 years ago. And a lot looked very different 2 years ago. There was a lot of different conversations to be had, a lot of different ways of looking at things. And then, of course, you got to factor in that you're not the same person you were 2 years ago, and neither am I. Now, does that mean I don't stand by what I said? I do, with context. Okay, so this is where we're going to go with this one. I am pretty sure, now I didn't go and listen to all the episodes because sometimes let's be honest, I am just like you. I don't like to listen to myself talk. So I rarely listen back at my own episodes. But I remember thinking that I was going to record an episode, and so I'm 99% sure that I did, talking about the difference between a travel agent and a travel advisor. And I know for years that when I talked about it, it was that the travel advisor is the one that's going to really dive in. They're going to do the consultation. They're going to be the one who's going to really put the client together with the right product, really be consultative with it and really and truly work for the client, versus an agent who is very cookie cutter, very, just take what people tell them and input it, just be a ticketing agent. So if you were to say to me today, well, what's changed? I would say a lot and nothing all at the same time. I know, really clear as mud, isn't it? Here's the deal. Especially the last couple months, and maybe I'm just becoming more aware of it, maybe people have been doing this longer, but the infusion of names that I am seeing come up associated with a travel agent, travel advisor, is insane. I've seen travel professional, travel consultant, travel counselor, travel coach, travel, what all are they? Advisor, concierge, travel professional, cruise consultant, cruise counselor, cruise coach, like all of these things. And I have no idea what most of them mean, but more importantly, neither do your clients. When we think about the names, there's two ways to think about it. And this is where this conversation is going to go today. When we are talking about things, and I don't like to use acronyms, it's always about using things as crystal clear as possible, but there's the B2B world and the B2C. So if this is a new one to you, B2B is business to business. So that would be my business to your business, or B2C. So your business to a potential client. So business to business, we can have a little bit of a different conversation because we're in the same industry. We might not have the same role. We might not have the same product, but we're in the same industry and we can kind of talk that jargon in between us. So when you're in a B2B world, which is what I do continue to call travel agents a travel advisor, because I do genuinely believe there is a mindset involved with the advisor world. that there is a way of looking at it to when you're in your role as the travel consultant, travel coach, travel professional, travel advisor, travel blah, 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 whatever you want to call yourself. That is a role. That is a persona. That is a responsibility, if you will, of how it is that your clients are going to perceive you. What is that position of authority that you're going to take in your business, in your role? That position of authority that you're going to take when it comes to that connection with you and your client. So when I talk to a travel advisor, to me, that's where I'm talking to somebody who really is looking to invest into their skills, looking to invest their time and their energy into their client, looking to invest their resources to make themselves better at what they do. An agent, and I fully admit I bring in some bias on this, but we hear about the res agent, the reservations agent. To me, agent symbolizes call center. And so when I'm talking to you as a travel professional, I am thinking of you as a travel advisor. Here's the deal. Somebody who works at a call center, who punches a clock, starts and stops, 99.9% of the time is not going to listen to a podcast like this. They are not going to invest their most precious resource, their time, into getting educated on how to grow, how to move to the next level, because they're content to be where they are. But here's the big caveat on that. Where in a B2B world, we can call you an advisor. You can consider yourself anything you want to be. You could consider yourself the travel maven queen, whatever it is you want to call yourself. Make that your own mental mindset. But when you're putting it out there for your clients to find you, guess what? They don't know how to Google all of these fun made up words. They don't know how to Google all of these things that they've never heard of. If they're going to Google looking for you, they're not going to type in travel coach near me. They're going to type in travel agency near me, travel agent near me. They're going to type in the words that they know. When we use words that we have to explain, that essentially if you have to put a subtitle on it, then you've already lost the game, because people don't want to have to worry about subtitles. People don't want to have to be like, okay, well, how would I describe it? You know what, just use your own person. Yeah, mine's good, but yeah, I don't really know how to explain what it is that they do. Really, they're a travel agent, but they tell me they're not a travel agent, so I don't really know how to tell you what they are. You want to make sure that you are being as clear and concise about what it is. Actually, I was listening to, I remember what it was. It was something with marketing in the travel industry. And it frustrated me because they even, when it came down to doing your consultation, the words were, call it something really cute, like make it super cute so that people want to. Here's the deal. If anybody understands marketing, there is one primary rule to marketing, and it is to be clear and concise, never cute or clever. Because people only burn so many calories when describing you, only burn so many calories when figuring out if they want to move on to the next step or not. So if you are having them burn all their calories in trying to figure out what it is you even do, they're already gone. You would be amazed how many advisors that I've worked with that just by changing their message, they've completely changed how people interact with them. They start getting people going, oh, I didn't know that's what you do. One of my things that I like to do when I'm working is I have like 80s and 90s sitcoms on in the background. First off, and chase a squirrel here for a second. Wow, were those racy. A lot of what they talked about, or the innuendos, or the little stories that they told on the side. Yeah, there is a different culture in today's world. I'm just going to say it. Like, the culture was different. Good and bad. but at the same time, just wow. But everything you put out is about what people recognize, what people say. So going back to my 80s and 90s here, I didn't actually realize how many times people called their travel agent on sitcoms. You know, they convinced the spouse, who's notoriously cheap, to finally agree to go on this vacation, go on that long awaited honeymoon or whatever. And the first thing they said is, I got to call the travel agent. I'm going to call the travel agent. I got to call the travel agent. Obviously, we don't hear that as much. Actually, I did hear it not too long ago on a current show, and I was like, wait, they actually still refer to that. But that's what they do. They know it by name. How many of you, when you need something, ask for a facial tissue? Like if you are listening to me right now and you had a little bit of a runny nose, are you looking for a facial tissue or are you looking for a Kleenex? Now, up here in Canada, I don't know if it's like that in other parts of the world. Kleenex, the brand, has decided to stop making Kleenexes. So I kind of like, well, do we now call them Scotties or do we call them, I don't even know what the other, I'm not even sure how often oh, hang on. I do have a box of actual Kleenexes here. I was like looking around to see, like, do I even have Kleenex? Because I don't think I've ever really paid that much attention to the brand. But since my childhood, we've only ever called it Kleenex. So just getting back to the concept of if you have to explain it, it doesn't mean as much. So one story I was telling when I was recording before, that really messes me up to remember what it is that I talked about, what I didn't. But I had applied for something and it didn't come through. And I was trying to explain the emotion to it. And I was trying to explain everything to it to some people in my inner circle and to my spouse and things like that. And so I said, do you know what a safety school is? And my husband looked at me like, what? And so I was trying to explain what a safety school was. And he's like, I don't get it. And it completely then loses the story. And I was getting frustrated because I have all this emotion tied up in the fact that I got rejected and all of this, like, but it was my safety school. And so if you've never heard of safety school before, I only know it from television. That's where they talk about having applied for colleges and universities, and they apply for a whole bunch of them. But then they apply for the one that's their quote unquote safety school because they know they're going to get that one. Well, I applied for this because I knew I would get it because there was no doubt in my mind. And wouldn't you know, it came back and they're like, thank you, but no, thank you. And I was like, what? Like, what? On what planet did that happen? And so I had all this emotion and then I'm trying to explain it. And then I just got frustrated and I quit. I'm not saying your clients are going to have all this emotion negatively towards you. They're going to have good emotion. It doesn't matter. But when they have to start describing it, when they have to start to invest all this time and energy just to give you a name to describe what your name means, they got nothing left. The same thing, if you're new and you're coming up with an agency name, the company by which you want to go by, make sure that it's easy to pronounce, that it's easy to spell for the website. My last name is Beagle. So when I spell it, it's Beagle. Well, guess what? A lot of those, the B, the E, the G, the E, all sound very similar. And so I have to do a lot of phonetic spelling. Think of that when you're choosing your name. Is it going to be easy for them to replicate? Is it going to be easy for them to pass around? Even my first name is Glenda. I can't tell you how many years I was called Brenda. And people don't know how to spell things nowadays. So I see a lot of people out there who have crazy long website URLs. Now, don't get me wrong, Art of Selling Travel is not the shortest, but it's a fairly straightforward, easy words put together. So you can go a little bit longer with your name if it's easy to connect the pieces together. So we want to make sure that it's easy to repeat, it's easy to remember, and that it's something that resonates with people. Because if your clients don't know how to Google you, If they don't know how to easily connect you to something, guess what? When they're Googling, they'll find somebody else. So you can call yourself whatever you want, but it doesn't mean that people are going to actually respond to it. Now, there's a book out there, I believe it's The Alter Ego by Todd Herman, and he does a lot of examples with famous celebrities or athletes or things like that, and it's to create this alter ego when they're on the stage. So, for example, Beyonce has the alter ego factor. She's one person when she's off the stage, she's another person when she's on the stage. A lot of athletes need to do that. Gymnasts have to do that, because if they get too wrapped up in their own head, it makes it much, much harder for them, and they're at a higher risk of getting injured. Same with divers and other athletes. If you want to create your alter ego of being a coaching or a travel coach, travel consultant, travel whatever, do it. But know that your clients aren't going to know what that word means. And a lot of times they don't care and they're not going to ask you. So I want you to use terms that they know. Create your alter ego in your own mind. Know that if you want to coach them, and again, I've looked at a few of these different ones that have used the term travel coach, none of them match. Because I will read travel coach on this one, travel coach on that one, travel coach on that one, and it is 3 entirely different business models doing 3 entirely different things. I don't know who started telling travel agents, travel advisors that was a good idea. When I talk to someone like you, I will call you a travel advisor because, as I said earlier, you're investing in your skills, you're investing your resources, you're investing in creating something bigger than just being an order taker. But when you go out to your clients, there's nothing wrong with being referred to as a travel agent. There was also a conversation in a group where it talked about hiring, hire a travel agent. And there was this whole big controversy over the word hire. I'm not for sale. Well, you might not be, but your services are. You want to use the words your clients associate with you. You can create any word you want, but is it going to attract or repel your ideal client? Are you going to have to explain what that means? One that I heard a lot of was retain. You can retain my services. Well, what does that look like? If you have to spell out what it looks like, you've already lost the game. I remember the first time, and it was a completely out of context. Somebody's like, well, that's some big D energy right there. I was like, what on earth does that mean? Okay, I've since found out, and I kind of had a hunch that's what it was. But like, seriously? What? And I heard that. Now, if you don't know what big D energy is, send me a DM on Instagram. If you do, I don't need, just putting out a disclaimer, I don't need any pics. So if that put any context into it for somebody, there you go. But if you're still not 100% sure, you're not quite sure, go ahead, send me a DM so that we can make sure you know what it is, so that you don't say it in the wrong context. But ultimately, and this is the question I want you to ask yourself, are you using a name for your ego or so your clients can find you and identify you? It's really hard sometimes to accept that there is an industry where we are called a travel agent. But there's nothing dirty or wrong about it. If my clients, not that I sell much, but if I had somebody refer to me as, oh, that's my travel agent, Glenda, I'm not going to correct them. I'm not going to say I'm a travel advisor. In my mind, I think, thank you. And when people come to work with me, I will say, I'm not your average agent. In fact, I am a travel advisor, and this is why. And so I go in when we are at the point of doing a consultation. That's where I established my authority. That's why I'm not your grandma's agent. I'm not your typical, like, there's an agent and then there's an advisor. But if I was to put it out there, I'd be out there as an agent. It's just not what I market for my own business right now. I don't market that side of my business at all, actually. But if people referred to me as a travel agent, I'm A-okay with that. In my mind, I know that I am so much more because I never just automatically book what somebody asks. I have never have I ever? No, I don't think I have ever been given something and just booked it. The only way that might have happened is I had a corporate client that we did very specific things for him, but that took us years to get to the point where we could get to that part of the relationship that I knew exactly, and he knew what to do and what to submit me and how to submit it and that sort of thing. But otherwise, everything came with questions. Everything came with a story and context, and we built around that. So my question is a rose, does it smell as sweet by another name? If you are called a travel agent, is your world going to end? Make sure you're putting something out that allows your clients to find you. Because if they can't find you, guess what? You're not going to have any clients. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. So before you worry about getting this really fancy title that requires subtitles to explain what it is you actually do, just get out there and get known. Once you're known, get known for something specific. Okay, until next week, happy selling, and we will catch you right back here right next week. Bye-bye.